right, so we are going to look at a word problem that includes fractions. So when we're doing a word problem, we always need to remember to do our RDW process. Read, draw, write. So the first thing we're going to do is read the problem. When we read that problem, we are going to be doing three things. We're going to be underlining the question, bracketing the important information, and circling the verb and keywords. Now, oftentimes we go back and we reread that problem. All the time, I go back and read again, check my work, do it, can't do it enough. After we read and we do these three items, we are going to draw a model, label, write a number sentence, that's our equation, and we're going to write a word sentence. That means we're going to explain. That's what the writing a word sentence is, for explaining. So here's my problem. Levi and his 5 friends run 7/8 of a mile in PE class. How many miles did they run all together? Doing our RDW. So I just read it. Now I'm going to be underlining the question. What's the question? How many miles did they run all together? Now, after underlining that question, were there any key words or verbs that I need to circle? All together. All together is a key word. That gives me a clue as to what operation to use. All together typically will tell me to do addition, or it can tell me to do multiplication, which multiplication really is repeated addition. It is equal groups that get added together. That is what multiplication is. Next, I'm going to bracket my important information. Levi and his 5 friends run 7/8 of a mile in PE class. Do you think I just need 5 friends, or do you think I need Levi too? Levi and his 5 friends run 7/8 of a mile in PE class. How many miles did they run all together? Since I just reread it and I see that the question is asking for they, I think we need Levi and his 5 friends. So that tells me how many kids total. Levi and his 5 friends is 6 students. I'm just going to notate that for myself. And they run 7/8 of a mile in PE class. I think they each run 7/8 of a mile. Run 7/8 of a mile in PE class. That's how I'm going to interpret this. So 7/8 of a mile in PE class. So that means I have 6 students, and each of them run 7/8 of a mile. Okay, so what does that look like? So I've got my 6 students, 4, 5, 6 students. Each of them runs 7/8 of a mile. So I have 6 equal groups, 7/8 of a mile. And like we said before, that all together means that I could add them all up, or I could multiply. So let's do it both ways. So if I'm going to add this, when we have fractions with like denominators, common denominators, we know we can add them. So we know that all we have to do is add those numerators. So I could draw one big fraction bar, that one big fraction bar, and the denominator is going to be 8 because they're all 8. And my numerator, 7 plus 7, so how many 7s? I have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 7s. So my 6 7s, and I add those up, I get 42 as my numerator, and my denominator is 8. Because when you add fractions, remember you only add the numerator. And we're able to add that numerator because my denominator was the same. So now I'm left with an improper fraction. What do I have to do for an improper fraction? I need to remember what this means. This means divided by, So I'm going to take that and I'm going to do 42 divided by 8. Okay, now we should know our facts. 8, what's the closest we can get to 42? Does, without going over, 8 times, it's hard not having you guys here to help me. Oh, my brain is getting tired. Is it 8 times 6? Uh-oh, too far. So must be 8 times 5. 5 times 8 is 40, and I'm left with a remainder of 2. When you have fractions, that remainder becomes your numerator. So my numerator is 2, and when you have the division, your denominator is 8. So 5 and 2/8. But we need to get this into its most simple form, its simplest form. So thinking about finding the greatest common factor between 2 and 8, what would that be? The greatest common factor, a number that goes into both 2 and 8. 2. It's 2. So we're going to divide that by 2 halves, because 2 halves really is just 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. So 2 halves is 1. I'm dividing 2/8 by 1, but in the fractional form of 2 halves. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 5 and 2/8 is equivalent to 5 and 1/4 in its most simple form. And what are my units? How many miles? So that's how I did it adding. But I could also do it by multiplying. Because I have 6 equal groups of 7/8. So 6 groups of 7/8. Groups of a certain number. So to multiply fractions, we have to make both to multiply a whole number to a fraction, we have to make this whole number into a fraction. Well, how can I make the whole number 6 into a fraction? I can divide it by something. What would I divide it by to still keep its value to be 6? 6 divided by 1. Because doesn't anything divided by 1 still equal itself? 6 divided by 1 is still 6. So now I'm going to multiply my fractions. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. 6 times 7 is 42. 1 times 8 is 8. And then we're back to the exact same scenario we were at here. So we can just divide. 8 goes into 42 how many times? It goes into it 5 times, because 8 times 5 is 40, with 2 left over. 2, my remainder, is my numerator. 8 is my denominator. So now I have 5 and 2/8. Using that greatest common factor between 2 and 8 is 2. And I'm going to divide it by my fractional value of 1 of the greatest common factor. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 5 and 2/8 simplifies to 5 and 1/4 mile. And we got the exact same answer, another way, a second way.